Ethan's hands shook so hard he could barely tie the knot. Beneath the rotted cabin floor, dirt pressed against his chest, spiderwebs in his hair. He whispered up through the gap between floorboards. "I won't leave you." The 8-year-old girl tied to the chair above him, Sophia, taken by her own uncle 72 hours ago, sobbed behind her gag. Outside, her kidnapper paced, planning her murder. Ethan had no phone service, no backup, no way out. Just a water bottle, 2 protein bars, and a promise he had no idea how to keep. For 3 days he'd tracked a killer through California wilderness. Now 98 Hells Angels were racing toward them. But would they arrive before Derek Brennan made good on his threat? Subscribe now and follow this story to the very end. Comment below with your city so I can see how far this journey reaches. You won't believe what happens next. Friday, May 12, 2023. 6:47 p.m. Ethan Cole knelt beside his campfire, journal open on his lap, writing the first entry for his 48-hour solo survival test. The last requirement before his Eagle Scout Board of Review. 16 years old next month, 5'6", 108 pounds, brown hair perpetually falling into his eyes, hands that looked too small to do much of anything, but could tie 37 different knots in complete darkness. His father always said Ethan was built like a question mark, thin, bent over books, always thinking 3 steps ahead. His mother said he was built like a promise, steady, reliable, the kind of person who showed up when everyone else found excuses not to. Day 1, hour 0, Ethan wrote in careful block letters. Established camp at coordinates 41.2891 north, 124.0623 west. Fire built using friction method, bow drill, 12 minutes start to flame. Water source identified. Creek 200 yards northeast. Shelter construction complete. No signs of wildlife except... The sound hit him like a fist. Metal screaming. Engine roaring, then cutting dead. The distinctive crack of a motorcycle impact, maybe 400 yards south through the trees. Then silence. The kind of silence that means something broke that shouldn't have. Ethan's pencil stopped moving. His father, David Cole, had been a search and rescue coordinator for 17 years. Ethan had grown up hearing the radio calls, learning the protocols, understanding that the first 60 seconds after an accident were everything. He checked his watch. 6:51 p.m. He grabbed his headlamp, switched it to red filter, the kind that preserves night vision, and moved toward the sound. The forest floor was soft here, deep with pine needles and moss. Ethan's boots made almost no sound. 70 yards. 100. The smell hit him at 150. Gasoline, hot metal, burned rubber. At 190 he stopped. A motorcycle lay on its side in a shallow ravine. Harley-Davidson Street Glide, maybe 10 years old, front fork twisted, headlight shattered. The rider's helmet sat 15 feet away. No rider visible. Ethan's training kicked in. Scene safety first, his father's voice echoed in his head. Never approach until you've assessed. He scanned the area. No movement, no sound except the tick, tick, tick of cooling metal. He stepped closer, checking for fuel leaks, for fire risk, for, "Please, please don't." The voice came from uphill. Female. Young. Terrified. Ethan dropped low, moved behind a fallen redwood, and looked. A man stood 40 yards away, silhouetted against the dying light. 6 feet tall, maybe 190, wearing motorcycle leathers torn at the shoulder and knee. His left leg dragged when he moved. His face was bleeding. Ethan could see the dark streaks even from this distance. And in his arms, draped across both forearms like something that had stopped fighting, was a child. A little girl, 8, maybe 9 years old, light brown hair falling loose past her shoulders. She wore a pink motorcycle jacket, kid-sized, professional racing style, with Brennan Racing embroidered across the back. Her jeans were dirty. One of her white sneakers was missing. Her head lolled against the man's chest. Her arms hung limp. She wasn't moving. "Uncle Derek, please," the girl whispered. Her voice was so quiet Ethan almost missed it. "I want my daddy." "Shut up!" The man's voice was rough, tight with pain or panic or both. "Just shut up, Sophia. We're almost there." Ethan's stomach dropped. Uncle. She knew him. This wasn't a stranger. This was family. The man adjusted his grip, wincing as he shifted weight off his injured leg. He scanned the forest behind him, turning in a slow circle like he expected someone to be following. Then he muttered something under his breath. Ethan caught the words, "stupid bike," and "should have waited," and started walking northeast, away from the crash, deeper into the forest. Every instinct in Ethan's body screamed wrong. Parents don't carry unconscious children through woods at night. Uncles don't drag nieces away from crash sites without calling for help. Family doesn't run. Ethan made a choice in 3 seconds. He didn't question it, didn't debate it, just moved. He followed. His father had taught him tracking when he was 8. Elk season, up in the Siskiyous, 2 weeks of walking behind David, learning to read disturbed ground, broken twigs, the way animals moved through space. 30 yards back, David had said. Never closer. Watch their rhythm, not their position. Move when they move. Stop when they stop. Ethan stayed 30 yards back. The man, Derek, moved like someone who'd been hurt, but refused to stop. His gait was uneven, favoring his right leg, but he covered ground fast. Desperate speed. Ethan stepped where the ground looked soft, avoided dry branches, controlled his breathing, even though his heart hammered against his ribs. 7:03 p.m. They'd been walking 11 minutes. Derek stopped suddenly. Ethan dropped behind a moss-covered boulder, not breathing, not moving. Through a gap in the ferns, he watched Derek set the girl down, propped her against a tree like a doll, and pull out his phone. The screen glow lit his face. Blood ran from a gash above his left eye. His jaw was tight with pain. He typed something. His thumbs moved fast, angry. Then he grabbed Sophia again, lifted her. She whimpered but didn't resist, and kept walking. Ethan pulled out his own phone. No service, not even one bar. He was 3 miles from the nearest road, deep in old-growth forest where cell towers didn't reach. He opened his GPS app, still worked without service, and dropped a waypoint, marked it Crash Site. Then he kept following. 7:19 p.m. They'd covered 1.3 miles. The terrain got rougher. Limestone outcrops pushed up through the soil. Dense rhododendron thickets forced them both onto winding paths. Derek's breathing was labored now. He stopped every 100 yards to rest, to adjust his grip, to check behind him. At 7:34, he spoke to Sophia. "Almost there, kid. Then you can sleep. Long sleep." Sophia stirred. Her head lifted slightly. "Daddy's gonna be so mad at you." Derek laughed. It wasn't a nice sound. "Your daddy deserves everything that's coming." 7:51 p.m. 2.1 miles from Ethan's camp. Full darkness had settled. Derek pulled out a cheap flashlight, yellow beam cutting through the trees. Ethan kept his red headlamp on its lowest setting, just bright enough to see roots and rocks. Red light doesn't give away position. Red light doesn't destroy night vision. His scoutmaster had drilled that into him 50 times. At 8:14 p.m., Derek stopped. Ethan counted to 30, then moved closer, using the rhododendron for cover. A cabin sat in a small clearing ahead. Old, maybe 40 years, maybe older. Wooden walls with gaps between the boards where the timber had warped and shrunk. Tin roof, orange with rust, sagging in the middle. One window with no glass, just an empty frame like a missing tooth. The door hung crooked on its hinges. This wasn't a maintained structure. This was abandoned. Forgotten. Derek approached the door, shoulder-checked it open. The wood was soft with rot, and disappeared inside. Ethan dropped behind a fallen log 60 feet from the cabin's front wall. Dense rhododendron gave him cover. From here, he could see straight through the empty window frame. Derek was lighting a lantern, kerosene from the smell. He hung it from a hook in the ceiling. Someone had left the hook there decades ago, rusted but functional. The light threw shadows across walls covered in graffiti and water stains. Sophia lay where Derek had set her down, on the floor near the back wall. She stirred again. Her hand moved. Her head turned. She was waking up. Derek crouched beside her. "Don't try to get up." Sophia's eyes opened, confused, frightened. "Uncle Derek? Where am I?" Her voice broke. "I want my daddy. Please, I want to go home." "You're not going home." "What?" Derek grabbed her shoulder, pushed her back down when she tried to sit up. Not violent, but firm. Final. "I said you're not going home. Your daddy made choices, Sophia. Now he lives with them." "I don't understand." Tears started running down her face. "Please, I don't—" "You don't need to understand." Derek stood, paced to the far wall, paced back. His hands shook. "You just need to stay quiet and do what I say." He pulled rope from his backpack, old climbing rope, maybe 50 feet. He dragged over the only piece of furniture in the cabin, a wooden chair, paint peeling, one leg slightly shorter than the others. "Sit." "No." Sophia tried to crawl backward. "No, please." Derek grabbed her arm, pulled her up, forced her into the chair. She was crying hard now, making small, desperate sounds. He wrapped the rope around her wrists, pulled it tight behind the chair back, wrapped it again around her ankles, binding them to the chair legs. She couldn't move, couldn't run, could barely shift her weight. "You're hurting me," Sophia sobbed. "Uncle Derek, you're hurting me." He tied the final knot. Then he pulled a strip of cloth from his jacket pocket, looked like it had been torn from a t-shirt, and moved toward her face. "No, please, don't." He gagged her, wrapped the cloth around her mouth, tied it tight behind her head. Her voice cut off mid-sob. She could only make muffled sounds now, desperate, small. The sounds of someone who just realized that screaming wouldn't help. Ethan's hands went numb. He was still behind the log, still hidden, still safe. But watching this, watching an 8-year-old girl get tied up and gagged by someone she trusted, made his chest so tight he couldn't breathe right. Derek stepped back, looked at Sophia. Then he started talking. "You don't understand, do you?" His voice was different now, bitter, like something that had been rotting inside him for years. "Your daddy, my half-brother, Marcus Blaze Brennan, champion motorcycle racer, Hell's Angels road captain, everyone's hero." He paced. 3 steps to the wall, turn, 3 steps back. 10 years ago, I had problems. You weren't even born yet. I was racing too. Did you know that? I was good. Not as good as Marcus, but good enough. Then I crashed. Shattered my femur. Got hooked on painkillers. Made some bad choices. Derek stopped pacing, turned to face Sophia. His face was twisted with something that looked like pain and rage mixed together. "I needed help. I needed my family, But Marcus, he didn't help. He told our father, your grandfather, everything. Told him I was using drugs. Told him I'd stolen money from the racing team to buy pills. And you know what our father did? Sophia shook her head frantically. Tears streamed down her cheeks. He kicked me out. Disowned me. Cut me out of the will. Everything went to Marcus. The house, the racing sponsorships, the respect. Marcus got the Hells Angels Brotherhood, got the championship titles, got everything. Derek's voice dropped lower, quieter. Somehow that made it worse. And I got nothing. I got a criminal record for theft. I got blacklisted from professional racing. I got 10 years of working dead-end jobs and watching my brother live the life that should have been mine. He knelt in front of Sophia. His face was inches from hers. Your daddy took my life, so I'm taking his. Sophia shook her head, made sounds behind the gag, pleading sounds. Derek pulled out his phone again. Burner phone, Ethan realized. Cheap, prepaid thing with no GPS, no tracking. Derek held it up so Sophia could see the screen. I sent him a message 23 minutes ago, right after I took you from your school's parking lot. $500,000, 72 hours. That's what I told him. Pay up or you die. He stood, turned away, stared at the dark window. He thinks he can save you with money. He's wrong. I'm keeping the money and killing you anyway because money won't fix what he did to me. Only losing you will make him feel what I felt. Only your death will balance the scales. Ethan's vision went white at the edges. He gripped the log in front of him so hard, splinters drove into his palms. You have 72 hours, Derek said. His voice was flat now, clinical, like he was reading a grocery list. That's it. Monday morning, 6 a.m. Whether he pays or not, you don't go home. And they'll never find you. This cabin's been abandoned since 2001. By the time they search this deep, if they even search this deep, you'll be long buried. Sophia's whole body shook. The chair rocked slightly with her trembling. Deer checked his watch. I'm going to set up some perimeter markers. Make sure nobody followed me from the crash. Don't go anywhere. He laughed at his own joke. Then he walked to the door, stepped out, and disappeared into the darkness. The lantern stayed burning. Sophia stayed tied to the chair, crying silently behind the gag, unable to scream. And Ethan stayed behind the log, his mind moving through options at light speed. He had his backpack. Inside, water filter, iodine tablets, 50 feet of paracord, first aid kit, fire starter kit, folding knife, compass, topographic map, emergency blanket, signal mirror, 2 emergency flares, 8 protein bars, beef jerky, trail mix, water bottles. Enough supplies for 48 hours solo survival. The exact gear his merit badge required. He had skills: fire building, water purification, navigation, tracking, signaling, wilderness first aid. 16 merit badges earned. 5 years in Troop 47. His father's training since he was old enough to walk. He had a choice. Run. 3 miles back to the trailhead, maybe 90 minutes in the dark if he moved fast. Find help. Call his father. Call police. Mobilize search and rescue. But by the time he got there, it would be past 10 p.m. By the time police organized a response for a remote kidnapping with no trail access, it could be midnight. By the time they found this cabin, if they found it at all in 500,000 acres of national forest, it could be dawn. 18 hours minimum, maybe more. And if Derek heard sirens coming, if he suspected someone had discovered his location, what would he do? Ethan looked at his hands. They were shaking. He thought about his father's voice, the lessons drilled into him since childhood. Do the right thing. even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. He thought about the scout law. A scout is trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, and reverent. Helpful. Brave. He looked at the cabin, at the little girl tied to a chair crying in the lantern light, at the empty forest around him, at the impossible situation that had just landed in his lap. And he made his decision. Ethan pulled his journal from his pack, the waterproof notebook where he was supposed to document his survival decisions for the merit badge evaluation. He opened to the first blank page and wrote 3 sentences by the glow of his red headlamp. Witnessed kidnapping. Girl, approximately 8 years old. Victim is Sophia Brennan. Suspect is Derek Brennan, victim's uncle. Tracking location. Staying with victim. If found, tell Dad. I did the math. This is the right choice. He closed the journal, zipped it into his pack's inner pocket, and started planning. The first thing he did was mark the trail. He backtracked 100 yards from his observation post, moving carefully, quietly, stopping every 30 seconds to listen for Derek's return. Every 50 yards, he left a marker, a branch broken at eye level, the break pointing northeast toward the cabin. 3 rocks stacked in a cairn, the top rock pointing north. Orange surveyor tape. He'd brought a roll for marking his camp perimeter, tied to tree trunks at chest height. He worked for 42 minutes, extending the marked trail half a mile toward the Deep Creek trailhead. When rescue came, when, not if, because Ethan refused to believe if, they would follow these markers straight to the cabin. By 9:36 p.m., he was back at his observation post. Derek had returned. Through the window, Ethan could see him lying on the floor near the door, using his backpack as a pillow. The lantern had been turned down to a low flicker, just enough light to see shapes. Sophia was still tied to the chair. She'd stopped crying. Her head hung forward, exhausted, terrified, alone. Ethan ate 1 protein bar, drank a quarter of his water bottle, tried to think through the next steps. He couldn't approach the cabin while Derek was inside. The man would hear. And even if Ethan was quiet, what could he do? He was 13 years old, weighed 108. Derek was a full-grown man, injured but desperate, and apparently willing to murder a child. If Ethan tried to fight, he'd lose. If he tried to free Sophia, he'd get caught. If he got caught, they'd both die. So he waited. He didn't sleep. Couldn't sleep. Just sat behind the log, watching the cabin, watching Derek's shadow move occasionally across the lantern light, watching Sophia's small form slumped in that chair. At 11:47 p.m., his watch alarm vibrated. He'd set it for midnight, the official start of day 2 of his survival test. He silenced it and wrote in his journal, Hour 5. Victim still secured in structure. Suspect sleeping. Marked trail to location. Need to establish contact with victim. Need to keep her alive until rescue arrives. Time remaining until suspect's deadline, 66.2 hours. He underlined the last sentence twice. Saturday morning came cold and gray, 6:18 a.m. by Ethan's watch. The lantern inside the cabin had burned out. Through the window, Ethan could see Derek stirring, sitting up, stretching his injured leg with a grimace. Derek stood, walked to Sophia, said something Ethan couldn't hear. Then he grabbed an empty water bottle from his backpack and walked out the door. Ethan watched him head toward the creek 200 yards east. The moment Derek disappeared into the trees, Ethan moved. He'd noticed something during the night. A loose floorboard on the cabin's northeast corner, visible where the wood had rotted away from the foundation. He'd spent 3 hours staring at that gap, forming a plan. Ethan crossed the 60 feet to the cabin in 18 seconds, dropped to his knees at the rotted section, livid the loose board, It came up easily, soft with decay, and found exactly what he'd hoped for: an 18-inch gap between the ground and the underside of the cabin floor. He could fit. Ethan crawled beneath the cabin, dirt cold against his stomach, spider webs caught in his hair. The smell of rot and dampness filled his nose. He army crawled toward the center of the structure, directly beneath where Sophia sat tied to the chair. The floorboards above him had gaps, inch-wide spaces between planks where the wood had warped and shrunk over decades of weather. Enough to see through, enough to reach through if he was careful. Ethan pressed his face close to a gap and whispered, "Hey." Sophia's head jerked up. Her eyes went wide with panic. "Don't make a sound," Ethan whispered. "Down here, look down." She looked down, saw his eye peering up through the gap between floorboards. Her expression shifted from panic to confusion to desperate hope in 3 seconds. "My name is Ethan," he whispered, as fast as he could manage while keeping quiet. "I'm 13, Boy Scout. I was camping nearby. I saw him bring you here last night. I followed you. I know you're in danger. I'm going to help you. Do you understand?" Sophia nodded frantically, made muffled sounds behind the gag. "I'm going to reach up and take the gag off for a minute, but we have to be absolutely quiet. If he hears us, he'll know someone found you. Can you be quiet?" Another nod. Tears were running down her face now. Different tears. Relief tears. Ethan reached up through the gap. His fingers just barely touched the cloth tied around her mouth. He worked at the knot. It was tight. Derek had pulled it hard, loosening it slowly, carefully. Finally, it came free. He pulled it down around her neck. Sophia gasped for air, then immediately whispered, so quiet Ethan almost couldn't hear. "Who are you?" "I told you, Ethan Cole, Troop 47, Eureka. I'm doing my Eagle Scout survival test. I was camping when your uncle crashed his motorcycle. I saw him take you. I've been following since last night." "Is my daddy looking for me?" "I promise you, he is. Every cop, every ranger, everyone who can help is looking for you right now." "How long?" Her voice broke. "How long do I have to?" "I don't know, but I'm not leaving you. I'm going to keep you alive until they get here. I'm leaving trail markers, broken branches, stacked rocks, so when the search teams come, they'll find you, okay?" "Okay." Her voice was so small, so scared but trying to be brave. Ethan pulled a water bottle from his pack, half full, filtered from the creek that morning before Derek woke. He passed it up through the gap. "Drink." Slowly, Sophia grabbed it with her bound hands. The rope was loose enough for her fingers to move, and drank desperately. Not slowly at all. Ethan didn't stop her. He gave her a protein bar. She ate it in 4 huge bites. Then he pulled out his journal and wrote quickly, "Your daddy loves you. Help is coming. Stay strong. You're not alone. Ethan." He folded the paper and passed it through the gap. Sophia took it, pressed it against her chest like it was the most valuable thing in the world. "I have to put the gag back on," Ethan whispered. "I'm sorry, but if he finds it off, he'll know someone helped you. I'll come back every time he leaves, I promise. I'm not leaving you." "Okay." That tiny voice again, scared but steady. Ethan reached up, retied the gag as gently as he could. Sophia didn't fight, just closed her eyes and let him do it. Then Ethan heard something that made his blood freeze. Footsteps. Close. Getting closer. Derek was coming back from the creek. Ethan scrambled backward through the dirt, replaced the floorboard, and sprinted for the tree line. He reached the rhododendron cover exactly 13 seconds before Derek walked back into the cabin, water bottle filled, completely unaware that someone had just been beneath his feet. Ethan crouched behind the log, breathing hard, heart slamming against his ribs like it wanted to escape. His hands shook, his vision swam. But he'd just done something impossible. He'd kept a promise, the first of many. And now the clock was ticking. 61 hours left. Ethan pulled out another protein bar, forced himself to eat half. He needed fuel, needed to stay functional, and started planning his next move. Because keeping Sophia alive wasn't enough. He had to signal. Had to make rescue teams see him, find him, understand that a girl was dying 72 hours at a time in a forgotten cabin that no map showed. He had to be louder than the wilderness, brighter than the search grid, more persistent than Derek's plan. At 10:23 a.m., Ethan hiked to the ridge 600 yards east of the cabin, the highest point within a mile. He'd scouted it during the night while Derek slept. From here he could see for 20 miles north across the forest canopy. He gathered armloads of green pine boughs, damp leaves still wet from morning dew, moss torn from rocks, everything that would produce thick white smoke instead of clean flame. He built the fire in a teepee structure 8 feet tall, used his entire fire-starting kit, magnesium shavings, char cloth, tinder bundle. Blew gently until flames took hold, then fed it everything green and wet he could find. At 11:58 a.m., smoke began to rise. Thick, white, unmistakable. By 12:15 p.m., the column rose 400 feet into the clear spring sky, visible for miles in every direction. At 2:03 p.m., a search and rescue helicopter passed overhead. Bell 407, county markings. Ethan could see it clearly, circling 3 miles south of his position. The pilot saw the smoke. Ethan was sure of it. The helicopter adjusted course slightly, seemed to orient toward the column. But it didn't come closer. It circled once, twice, then moved on. Ethan's stomach dropped. He waved his arms. He pulled out his signal mirror and flashed SOS. ... dash 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 ... 5-second pause. Repeat. Over and over until his arm ached and his eyes burned. The helicopter kept moving south, farther away, until it disappeared over the ridge. What Ethan didn't know, what he couldn't have known, was that the search coordinator had seen his smoke signal and made a decision. "That's the Matthews kid," the coordinator had said over the radio. "He's doing his Eagle Scout Survival Merit Badge this weekend. That's just his camp signal fire. Mark it non-urgent. Continue primary search pattern." One assumption. One reasonable mistake. And Ethan's signal had been dismissed as exactly what it was supposed to be. Proof that a scout was surviving in the wilderness. By 2:47 p.m., Ethan was back at his observation post. The fire had burned itself out. The helicopter was gone. And inside the cabin, Derek was pacing while Sophia sat tied to the chair, her head hanging forward, her small body shaking with cold or fear or exhaustion, or all three. 55 hours remained. Ethan pulled out his last piece of beef jerky and stared at it. He had 8 protein bars left, half a bottle of water, no warm jacket. He'd given his fleece to his younger brother last week and forgotten to take it back before the camping trip. He was cold, hungry, exhausted from 20 hours without sleep. And he'd just made a promise to an 8-year-old girl that he had no idea how to keep. But he'd made it anyway, because that's what scouts do. That's what people do when they look at impossible situations and decide that doing nothing isn't an option. Ethan ate half the jerky, saved the rest, drank 3 sips of water, and started planning his next signal fire. Because if one helicopter had seen smoke and dismissed it, he'd build a signal so big, so impossible to ignore, that no one could mistake it for a campfire. He just had to survive long enough to build it. Saturday, 5:47 p.m. 48 hours into what should have been a simple merit badge test. 22 hours since Ethan had watched Derek drag Sophia into that cabin. 52 hours until Derek's deadline. Ethan's body was shutting down. He could feel it happening in stages. First, the hunger. His stomach had stopped growling hours ago, moved past complaint into hollow ache. Then, the cold. Without his fleece, the dropping temperature made his fingers stiff, his thinking slow. Then the exhaustion. His eyelids felt like they had weights attached. His vision blurred at the edges. His thoughts kept sliding sideways into half-dreams before he jerked himself awake. He'd eaten 4 protein bars in 22 hours, given 4 to Sophia. That left 0. He had beef jerky, but his father's voice echoed in his head. Protein without water dehydrates you faster. Ration both together or neither. His water bottle was a quarter full, maybe 12 ounces. He'd given Sophia half his supply through the floorboards. The creek was 200 yards away, but getting there meant leaving his observation post, meant risking Derek seeing him, meant potential disaster. So Ethan sat behind the log and did the math. Math always helped. Math made impossible situations into solvable equations. 12 ounces of water. Human body needs minimum 64 ounces per day to function. He had enough for 4.5 hours at rest, maybe 3 hours if he kept moving, building fires, crawling under cabins. 3 hours wasn't 52 hours. The equation didn't balance. At 6:11 p.m., Derek emerged from the cabin. Ethan watched him walk to the creek, moving with that pronounced limp favoring his right leg. The motorcycle crash had hurt him worse than Ethan initially thought. Derek kept touching his left ribs, wincing with each breath. Possible fracture. Deafen people down, made them sloppy. The moment Derek disappeared into the trees, Ethan moved. He'd timed Derek's water runs. 11 minutes average. Never less than 9, never more than 13. Ethan had 9 minutes. He crawled under the cabin, found the gap in the floorboards, whispered up, "Sophia, it's Ethan." Her voice came back immediately, muffled by the gag, but urgent. "I'm taking the gag off. 30 seconds. Don't waste time." He reached through, loosened the knot, pulled the cloth down. Sophia gasped. He said my daddy probably isn't even looking. He said Daddy's probably glad I'm gone because I'm too much trouble. Is that true?" Ethan's chest tightened. "No, that's the biggest lie anyone's ever told you. Your dad's out there right now with every cop and ranger and biker he knows, searching every inch of forest. I promise you." "How do you know?" "Because that's what dads do, especially dads who love their kids." Ethan pulled his last water bottle, the one he'd been saving for himself, through the gap. "Drink all of it." "What about you?" "I'll filter more from the creek tonight. You need it more." Sophia drank. Ethan counted seconds. 43, 50. Derek had been gone 6 minutes. "Ethan?" Sophia's voice was quieter now, scared in a different way. "What if they don't find us in time?" "Then I cut you loose and we run. I know how to navigate at night. We'll make it to the trailhead together." "Promise?" "I already promised I wouldn't leave you. That promise covers everything." 8 minutes. Ethan retied the gag, crawled backward, replaced the floorboard, and sprinted for cover. He reached the log with 40 seconds to spare. Derek returned at the 11-minute mark, carrying a full water bottle and something else, a plastic bag from his backpack. Through the window, Ethan watched him pull out a sandwich, gas station sandwich, probably bought before the kidnapping. Derek ate it in 6 bites while Sophia watched, still tied, still gagged, still starving. Ethan's hands curled into fists. He forced them open, forced himself to breathe. Anger wouldn't help Sophia. Smart decisions would. At 8:34 p.m., full darkness settled over the forest. The temperature dropped to 41 degrees. Ethan's breath came out in small clouds. His hands shook, not from fear anymore, from cold. He needed fire. Needs warmth. But fire meant light, and light meant Derek might see him. So he sat in the dark and shivered, and did more math. Body loses heat 25 times faster when wet. He was dry. Good. Body loses heat through head, hands, feet first. He had a hat in his pack. He put it on. Body shuts down non-essential systems when core temperature drops below 95 degrees. His core felt fine. His extremities felt like ice. He pulled just the GPS working on satellite data, showing his location as a blue dot in an ocean of green forest. He opened the mapping app anyway, studied the terrain. The nearest road was 3.2 miles northwest. The nearest house was 7.8 miles south. The nearest cell tower was 11 miles east. All impossible distances when you couldn't leave. At 10:47 p.m., Derek's phone rang inside the cabin. Ethan's head snapped up. Sound carried clearly through the broken window. Dad answered on the second ring. Yeah? His voice was cautious. A pause, then, Marcus. Didn't expect you to call this number. Ethan's pulse jumped. Marcus. Sophia's father. I got your money, Derek said. All of it. 500,000. That was fast. You must really love her. Another pause. Derek's face twisted into something ugly. Don't threaten me, brother. You're not in a position to threaten anyone. I have your daughter tied up in a place you'll never find, and if you even think about involving cops. He stopped, listened. His expression shifted. You already called the FBI? You stupid. Derek's voice climbed higher. I said no police. I specifically said... He was pacing now, gesturing with his free hand, even though Marcus couldn't see him. It doesn't matter that they can't trace this phone. It matters that you broke the rules. And when people break rules, there are consequences. Derek looked at Sophia. She was watching him with wide, terrified eyes. Here's the new deal, Marcus. I'm moving her. Right now. Tonight. Somewhere even deeper. Somewhere not even the FBI's fancy helicopters will find. And the price just went up. 750,000. You have 48 hours, not 72. 48. He listened for 5 seconds. Then he laughed. Kill her? No, no. I'm going to make her suffer first. Make her scared. Make her hurt. So when you finally get her body back, if you get it back, you'll know her last days were agony. You'll know she cried for you and you couldn't save her. Just like I cried for Dad to take me back, and he wouldn't. Derek ended the call, threw the phone against the wall. It shattered. Sophia was sobbing behind the gag. Her whole body shook. Derek grabbed his backpack, started shoving things inside. The lantern, the rope, his water bottle. Change of plans, kid. We're moving. Your daddy's too smart for his own good, bringing in FBI. So we're going somewhere they'll never look. He moved toward Sophia, started untying the ropes around her ankles. Ethan's mind raced. If Derek moved Sophia now, all the trail markers Ethan had left would lead to an empty cabin. The search teams would find nothing. And wherever Derek took her next would be completely unknown, unmarked, unfindable. Ethan had maybe 3 minutes to decide. Follow them again, which meant another multi-mile track through darkness, leaving no trail markers because he wouldn't know the route in advance. Or run now for the trailhead, get help, hope the FBI could mobilize fast enough. 3 minutes became 2. Derek freed Sophia's ankles, started working on her wrists. Ethan made his choice. He couldn't run. Not now. Not when Sophia needed someone watching, someone keeping her alive. If he ran, she'd be alone with a man who just promised to make her suffer. 2 minutes became 1. Derek pulled Sophia to her feet. She could barely stand. Her legs had been tied for 16 hours. She collapsed. Derek grabbed her arm, hauled her up, threw her over his shoulder in a fireman's carry. "Let's go." He walked out of the cabin heading south. Different direction than they'd come. No trail, just dense forest. Ethan grabbed his pack and followed. This track was harder. Deer wasn't following paths anymore, wasn't checking his phone for direction, just crashing through underbrush, moving on instinct, or maybe just panic. Ethan had to stay closer, 20 yards instead of 30, to keep visual contact in the darkness. 10 minutes in, Derek stopped, set Sophia down, pulled out a flashlight. Ethan dropped flat behind a fallen tree. Derek swept the flashlight in a circle. The beam passed 3 feet over Ethan's head. Passed again. Deer was checking his back trail, finally being cautious. "I know you're out there," Derek shouted into the darkness. "FBI! Park rangers! Whoever Marcus sent! I know you're following, but you won't find us. These woods go on forever, and I know them better than you." He didn't know them. Ethan could tell from the way Derek kept checking his phone's GPS, the way he second-guessed his direction. But he was desperate, and desperate people convinced themselves of anything. Deer picked up Sophia again and kept walking. 23 minutes, 1.1 miles. The terrain got brutal. Steep slopes, creek crossings, dense undergrowth that tore at clothes and skin. Ethan left markers whenever he could, broke branches, stacked rocks. But in darkness, moving fast, he couldn't do it properly. Some markers were barely visible. Some probably pointed the wrong direction. At 11:52 p.m., Derek reached another structure, smaller than the cabin. Ethan recognized it from his topo map study, an old hunter's blind. 8 feet by 8 feet. Plywood walls. No door, just an opening. Built maybe 20 years ago and abandoned when the hunting regulations changed. Derek shoved Sophia inside, tied her to a support post, retied the gag she'd managed to work loose during the walk. "This is your new home. Get comfortable." He didn't set up a lantern this time, just used his flashlight to check the ropes, then sat down in the opening with his back to the wall and his eyes on the forest. Watching. Waiting. Paranoid. Ethan couldn't approach, couldn't crawl underneath. This structure sat on posts, but the gap was only 6 inches, too small for him to fit. Couldn't signal. His position was exposed, no good cover within 50 yards. He found a dense rhododendron thicket 40 yards away and settled in to watch. Sunday, 2:17 a.m., 43 hours until Derek's new deadline. 27 hours since Ethan had slept. His body was past exhausted into something else, a strange floating feeling where his thoughts moved like syrup and his vision kept doubling. He'd read about this in his wilderness survival manual. Stage 2 sleep deprivation, cognitive impairment, hallucinations possible after 36 hours without rest. He had 9 hours until that threshold. Derek hadn't moved in 2 hours, just sat in the blind's opening, flashlight off, staring into darkness, waiting for pursuers who didn't know where to pursue. Ethan's eyelids closed, snapped open, closed again. He bit his tongue. The pain focused him for maybe 30 seconds. Then the floating feeling returned. He pulled out his last piece of beef jerky, the half piece he'd saved, and ate it slowly. Chewing kept him awake. The salt made him thirsty, but his water was gone, and he couldn't leave to get more. At 3:41 a.m., Derek's head dropped forward. His breathing deepened. Sleep. Finally. Ethan counted to 200, Derek didn't move. Ethan stood on legs that felt like they belonged to someone else and moved toward the blind. Each step careful, testing weight before committing, avoiding dry leaves and twigs. 20 yards, 15, 10. He could see Sophia through the opening. She was slumped against the post, head down, possibly asleep or possibly unconscious. Ethan couldn't tell. 5 yards. 3. Deer's eyes opened. Ethan froze mid-step. Not breathing, not moving. A statue in human form. Derek looked right at him, looked through him, past him. Then Derek's eyes closed again. False alarm, just a movement during sleep, not waking. Ethan counted to 50. Derek's breathing stayed deep and even. Ethan moved to the side of the blind, found a gap between plywood boards and whispered through it. "Sophia." No response. "Sophia, wake up, it's Ethan." Her head lifted slightly. A small sound came from behind the gag. "I'm right here. I followed you. I'm still here." The sound again. Relief, maybe, or just acknowledgement. "I can't get you out right now. He's too close. But I'm going to get help. Real help. I'm going to run to the trailhead and bring back everyone. Can you hold on until morning?" A pause, then a single nod. "That's my girl. You're so brave. Hold on just a little longer." Ethan pulled back from the wall, started to retreat. Derek's phone, the new burner he'd pulled from his backpack, buzzed in his pocket. Derek jerked awake, grabbed the phone, read the screen. His face went pale, even in the darkness. No, that's impossible. He stood, looked at the phone, looked at Sophia, looked out into the forest. "They're tracking me. He spun in a circle. "The GPS. They're using the GPS." He threw the phone as hard as he could into the trees. It disappeared into darkness. "Doesn't matter. We're moving again. Right now." He grabbed Sophia, untied her from the post, threw her over his shoulder again, and then he looked directly at the spot where Ethan had been standing 15 seconds earlier. "And whoever's out there following us, you're about to lose the trail. I'm done playing games." Derek ran. Not walked. Ran through the forest with Sophia bouncing on his shoulder, crashing through undergrowth like something was chasing him, even though nothing was. Ethan followed. No choice, no time to think. This wasn't tracking anymore. This was chaos. Sunday, 4:23 a.m. Derek had been running for 37 minutes. Sophia had stopped making sounds, either gagged too tight or passed out from the rough treatment. Ethan's lungs burned. His legs shook with every step. The rhododendron branches had torn cuts across his face and arms. He'd lost Derek twice in the darkness, found him again both times by sound alone. The crash of boots through underbrush, the gasping breaths of a man with broken ribs running on adrenaline and fear. Then Derek stopped. Ethan dropped behind a boulder, chest heaving, trying not to make noise. Derek set Sophia down, looked around, pulled out a small LED headlamp from his pack and clicked it on. They were at a cliff edge, 30-foot drop to a creek bed below. The water ran fast here, swollen from spring snowmelt higher in the mountains. "End of the line," Derek said, not to Sophia, to himself, to the forest, to whoever he thought was pursuing. He looked at Sophia. She was conscious now, looking up at him with exhausted terror. "Your daddy thinks he's so smart. FBI thinks they're so smart. But none of them found you. None of them saved you." Derek pulled his knife from his pocket, flicked it open. The blade gleamed in the LED light. At Ethan's heart stopped. This was it. The moment Derek decided that running was over and killing was easier. Ethan stood up from behind the boulder. Didn't think about it. Didn't plan it. Just stood. "Hey!" Derek spun. His headlamp beam hit Ethan full in the face. Blinding. "Who the hell? You're a kid." "Let her go." Derek laughed. Actually laughed. "Let her go? Are you serious? Who are you?" "Someone who made a promise." "A promise?" Derek's voice dripped contempt. "Kid, I don't know what you think you're doing, but you need to walk away right now before you get hurt." "No." "No?" "I'm not leaving her. You can hurt me. You can try to hurt both of us. But I'm not leaving." Derek stared at him, trying to process what he was seeing. A 13-year-old kid, maybe 110 pounds, covered in dirt and scratches, standing 20 feet away with no weapon, no backup, no plan except refusing to leave. "You've been following us," Derek said slowly. "This whole time. The markers, You're the one who's been leaving trail signs." Ethan didn't answer. "That's why the helicopter came. That smoke signal, that was you." Still no answer. Derek's expression changed. The contempt shifted to something colder. Calculation. "You know where we are. You know how to get back to civilization. You're a witness." He started walking toward Ethan, knife still in his hand. "I can't let you leave." Ethan's mind raced through options. Run. Derek was injured. Ethan was faster. But running meant leaving Sophia. Fight. Impossible. Derek was twice his size. Talk. "The FBI already knows about the first cabin," Ethan said quickly. "I left markers, dozens of them. They're probably there right now, finding your lantern, your rope, your DNA, everywhere. And the trail from there to here, I marked that too. Not as well because you were moving fast, but enough. They'll follow. They'll find this spot, and when they do, they'll find evidence of whatever you do next." Derek stopped walking. "You're bluffing." "Am I?" "How did the helicopter find the cabin? How did it know to search that exact area? I built a signal fire on the ridge. I used my signal mirror. I've been doing everything I can to bring help, and it's working. They're coming. If they're coming, they would have found us by now. They will. Maybe in an hour, maybe less. And when they do, this gets a lot worse for you if you've hurt either of us. Right now it's kidnapping. You hurt me? That's another victim. You hurt Sophia worse than you already have. That's murder. They'll never stop hunting you. Hell's Angels definitely won't stop." Derek's hand tightened on the knife. "Hell's Angels." Sophia's dad is Marcus Blaze Brennan, road captain. You really think 98 bikers are going to let this go? You kill his daughter, they'll find you in whatever hole you hide in. They'll make sure you never see daylight again. Something in Derek's face shifted. Fear. Real fear, cutting through the anger and desperation. "But if you let her go right now," Ethan continued, "if you run and disappear, maybe you get away. Maybe you make it to Mexico or Canada or wherever. But if you hurt her, if you hurt me, you guarantee that everyone comes after you with everything they have." Silence. Just the sound of the creek below and Derek's labored breathing. Then Sophia spoke. She'd worked the gag loose somehow, pulled it down. Her voice was raw, hoarse, but clear. "Uncle Derek, please. I'm 8 years old. I never did anything to you. Daddy never did anything to you. Grandpa was wrong to kick you out, but that wasn't Daddy's fault. Daddy tried to help you." He told me. He said he tried to get you into rehab, tried to give you money, tried to— "Shut up! Please, I just want to go home. I want my daddy. I said, shut up! Derek moved toward her. Ethan ran. Didn't think, just moved. He hit Derek from the side, not trying to hurt him, just trying to get between him and Sophia. His 108-pound body collided with Derek's 190. It was like hitting a wall. Derek stumbled. The cliff edge was 3 feet behind him. His injured leg gave out. He windmilled his arms, trying to catch balance. The knife fell from his hand, skittered toward the edge. Derek fell backward. Not over the edge, just down, landing hard on his tailbone. His broken ribs screamed. He curled forward, gasping. Ethan grabbed the knife, spun toward Sophia, cut the ropes around her wrists with 3 quick sawing motions. She was free. "Run," Ethan said. "Back the way we came. Follow the trail markers. Run and don't stop." "What about you?" "I'll be right behind you. Run!" Sophia ran. Derek tried to stand. Couldn't. The pain was too much. "You little—" Ethan threw the knife into the creek below. Then he ran after Sophia, legs pumping, heart hammering, brain screaming that they'd just made everything worse. Or maybe better. He couldn't tell which. Behind him, Derek screamed, "You can't run forever! These woods go on for miles! I'll find you!" But his voice was already fading, getting distant. Ethan caught up with Sophia 50 yards later. She was stumbling, falling, getting up, falling again. Her legs didn't work right after being tied for so long. "Come on," Ethan gasped. "Lean on me. We stay together." They moved through the forest as fast as Sophia's legs would carry them. Maybe 2 miles per hour, maybe less. Every sound made them freeze. Every shadow looked like Derek. At 5:47 a.m., the sky started to lighten, first hint of dawn. At 6:15 a.m., Ethan found one of his trail markers. A cairn of 3 rocks pointing northeast. "This way. We're close." At 6:52 a.m., they heard it. The most beautiful sound in the world. Helicopters. Multiple helicopters. The steady thwop, thwop, thwop of rotor blades cutting morning air. And something else. Deeper. Louder. Motorcycles. Dozens of them. Sophia grabbed Ethan's arm so hard her fingernails broke skin. "Is that my daddy?" "I think so." Ethan pulled out his signal mirror, angled it toward the rising sun, and flashed SOS toward the helicopter sounds. 3 short, 3 long, 3 short. His arm shook with exhaustion, but he kept flashing. "Come on, see us. Please see us." The helicopter noise grew louder, closer. Then a voice boomed through a loudspeaker, massive and echoing through the trees. "This is FBI hostage rescue. If you can hear this, signal your location." Ethan flashed faster. Sophia waved both arms over her head, jumping despite legs that barely functioned. "We're here! We're here!" 30 seconds of nothing. Then the helicopter appeared over the tree line, maybe 200 feet up, banking hard toward their position. Through the open side door, Ethan could see tactical gear, rifles, faces behind visors. The loudspeaker crackled again. 2 persons sighted, juvenile female and juvenile male, confirming visual on Sophia Brennan. Sophia started crying. Not terror tears. Relief tears that came from somewhere so deep she couldn't stand anymore. She collapsed to her knees, sobbing into her hands. The helicopter descended toward a clearing 40 yards north. Too dense here for landing, but close enough. A figure in tactical black leaned out the door, speaking into a radio. Then the motorcycle sounds got louder. Not from the air, from the ground. Coming fast up the fire road 1/2 mile west. Ethan heard them before he saw them. Nundy 8 Harleys, moving in formation like thunder given wheels. The sound built and built until it felt like the whole forest was vibrating. Sophia looked up, tears streaming. "That's Daddy's club. That's the Angels." The first bike appeared through the trees, then another, then 20 more. They poured into the clearing like a flood, engines cutting simultaneously. Sudden silence after all that noise. Kickstands down, riders dismounting, and from the front bike, the biggest one, a man in full riding leathers tore off his helmet and ran. Marcus Brennan was 6'2", 230 pounds, dark hair going gray at the temples, face marked by years of racing crashes and hard living. His eyes scanned the clearing in 2 seconds flat, found Sophia kneeling in the dirt, and something in his face just broke. "Sophia! Daddy!" She tried to stand, couldn't, fell forward. Marcus caught her before she hit the ground, swept her up in both arms like she weighed nothing, holding her so tight it had to hurt. But Sophia just wrapped her arms around his neck and buried her face in his shoulder and sobbed. "I got you, baby. I got you. You're safe. I got you." His voice cracked on every word. This giant man in motorcycle leathers, covered in club patches and road dust, crying openly while his daughter clung to him, and 97 other bikers stood in respectful silence, watching their brother get his child back.
"Daddy, he was gonna kill me. Uncle Derek said, shh, I know what he said. But you're safe now. He can't touch you. Nobody's ever gonna touch you again."
An FBI agent approached, woman in her 40s with Chen stenciled on her tactical vest. "Mr. Brennan, we need to get Sophia medical attention immediately. Possible dehydration, exposure, psychological trauma. I'm not letting her go." "Sir, I understand, but—" "I said I'm not letting her go." Marcus's voice was steel.
"You want to check her? You do it while I'm holding her. You want to transport her? I'm in whatever vehicle she's in. Non-negotiable." Agent Chen looked at Sophia's face pressed against her father's neck, at Marcus's arms locked around his daughter like he'd fight God himself before releasing her, and nodded.
"Understood." "Medic?" A paramedic jogged over with a jump kit, started checking Sophia's vitals while Marcus held her. Pulse elevated but strong. Blood pressure low. Pupils reactive.
Rope burns on wrists and ankles, superficial cuts and bruises, signs of dehydration. "She needs IV fluids," the medic said. "Hospital evaluation, but she's stable." Only then did Marcus look up, look around. His eyes found Ethan standing 10 feet away, covered in dirt and blood and pine needles, swaying on legs that wanted to quit, looking like a strong breeze would knock him over. "Who are you?" Ethan's throat was too dry to answer immediately. He swallowed, tried again. "Ethan Cole. Troop 47, Eureka. I was doing my Eagle Scout test. I saw him take her. I followed. I stayed with her. His knees buckled. The world tilted sideways. Strong hands caught him. A biker, older guy with a gray beard and arms like tree trunks, held Ethan upright. "Easy, kid. When's the last time you slept?" "Friday. Maybe. I don't—" "Friday?" The biker looked at his watch. "It's Sunday morning. You've been awake for 41 hours. Ethan's voice sounded far away. Give or take. Agent Chen was there suddenly, hand on Ethan's shoulder. "Ethan Cole. David Cole's son?" Ethan nodded. "Your father's been coordinating search and rescue. He's about 3 miles south right now with ground teams. I'll radio him." She keyed her mic. "Command, this is Chen. We have both targets secure. Sophia Brennan is safe. Also located Ethan Cole, alive. Appears exhausted but functional. Notify David Cole immediately." The radio crackled. "Copy that. David Cole is en route. ETA 12 minutes. Marcus was still staring at Ethan. Sophia had lifted her head from his shoulder, also staring. "You followed us?" Marcus's voice was quiet, trying to understand. "For 2 days?" By yourself? Yes, sir. You're 13 years old. Yes, sir. And you tracked a kidnapper through the wilderness, alone, instead of running for help. Running would have taken too long. By the time I got help back here, he might have moved her, or worse. So I stayed, marked trails,
Built signal fires. Tried to keep her alive until now.
Sophia reached one hand toward Ethan. He gave me food and water. He crawled under the cabin and talked to me through the floorboards. He promised he wouldn't leave me. He kept his promise, Daddy. Something shifted in Marcus's expression. He stood slowly, still holding Sophia in one arm, and walked toward Ethan, extended his free hand. Ethan shook it. Marcus's grip was careful, like he was afraid of breaking this kid who'd just saved his daughter. Thank you. Marcus's voice was rough. Thank you for staying when you could have run. Thank you for keeping her alive. Thank you for... His voice broke completely. He pulled Ethan into a one-armed hug, Sophia still in the other arm, and whispered, Thank you for giving me my daughter back. Ethan felt something crack inside his chest. All the fear and exhaustion and determination that had been holding him together for 41 hours suddenly had nowhere to go. He started shaking, couldn't stop. His breathing came in gasps. The gray-bearded biker, his vest patch said tank, put a hand on his shoulder. You're crashing, kid. Adrenaline dump, completely normal. Let's get you sitting down. They guided Ethan to one of the motorcycles, sat him on the seat. Someone handed him a water bottle. He drank half of it in 4 swallows, then remembered his training and stopped. Too much water too fast would make him sick. Agent Chen knelt in front of him. Ethan, I need you to tell me everything. Where is Derek Brennan now? Ethan's brain felt like it was moving through mud. Cliff edge. Maybe 2 miles southeast. He fell. Hurt his ribs worse. I took his knife, threw it in the creek. He was chasing us, but his leg was messed up from the motorcycle crash. We got away. Is he armed with anything else? I don't know. Maybe. He had a backpack. Probably has something. Chen spoke into a radio. All units, suspect Derek Brennan, last seen 2 miles southeast of our position, cliff area near creek. Injured, possibly armed, considered dangerous. Ground teams converge. She looked back at Ethan. The trail markers you left, were they from the original cabin or from... Both. From my camp to the first cabin, really good markers. From the first cabin to the hunter's blind, decent markers. From the blind to the cliff, not great. He was running, I couldn't mark as well. But I tried, every 50 yards when I could. You left dozens of markers. Yes, ma'am. That's why we found the cabin. Ranger team spotted your cairns, followed them straight in. Found the cabin empty but with fresh evidence. Rope, lantern, Derek's phone he smashed. We knew you were leading us somewhere. A new voice cut through the clearing. Ethan! Ethan's head snapped up. His father was running toward him, still in park ranger uniform, face streaked with dirt and sweat, eyes wild with relief and terror, and about 17 other emotions. David Cole reached his son and grabbed him by both shoulders, looking him over for injuries. Are you hurt? Did he hurt you? Are you... I'm okay, Dad. I'm okay. You're not okay. You've been missing for 36 hours. You haven't slept. You've been tracking a kidnapper. David's voice climbed higher with each word. What were you thinking? I was thinking that running for help would take too long, that she'd be alone, that someone needed to stay. David stared at his son. This skinny 13-year-old who'd just done something most trained professionals wouldn't attempt. You stayed. I promised her I would. David pulled Ethan into a hug so tight it squeezed the air from his lungs. Don't ever scare me like that again. Ever. Do you understand? Yes, sir. And also, David's voice cracked. Also, I'm so proud of you, I can't even find words. The helicopter pilot's voice came over the loudspeaker. We need to evacuate both juveniles to Memorial Hospital for evaluation. Medical bird is 5 minutes out. Marcus looked at Agent Chen. I'm riding with Sophia. Understood. Ethan's father can ride with him. No. Marcus's voice was firm. All 4 of us ride together. These kids went through this together. They separate when doctors say it's safe to separate, not before. Chen started to argue, looked at Marcus's face, looked at the 97 bikers standing behind him, all wearing identical expressions that said they agreed completely, and nodded. All 4 of you, together. Tank stepped forward. What do you need from us, Marcus? Find Derek. Every trail, every fire road, every inch within 10 miles. He's hurt and desperate. He'll make mistakes. On it. Tank turned to the assembled bikers. You heard him. Grid search pattern. Radio contact every 15 minutes. Nobody goes alone. Derek sees a lone rider, he might try something stupid. Derek sees 3 riders, he runs or hides. Let's move. The Angels mounted up. Engines roared to life. They spread out in groups of 3, heading in different directions, systematic and efficient as any professional search team. Sophia watched them go. Daddy's club is looking for Uncle Derek? Yes, baby. Are they gonna hurt him? Marcus hesitated. They're gonna find him and hold him until FBI arrives, that's all. I promised the agents we'd do this right, legal, by the book. Agent Chen raised an eyebrow, but didn't argue. The medical helicopter landed 3 minutes later. Air ambulance, bigger than the FBI bird, with trauma painted on the side. 2 flight paramedics jumped out with a stretcher. We can walk, Sophia said. I know you can, baby. But you're getting on that stretcher anyway. They loaded Sophia first. Marcus climbed in beside her, refusing to let go of her hand. Then Ethan, with David right behind. The compartment was tight, designed for 2 patients and 2 medics, not 2 patients and 2 family members, but nobody complained. The pilot lifted off. The forest fell away below them. From the air, Ethan could see his trail markers, tiny orange strips of surveyor tape tied to trees, barely visible from this height, but definitely there. Dozens of them, creating a breadcrumb trail through the wilderness. You did that, David said quietly. All of those. Yes, sir. While tracking a man who would have killed you if he'd found you. Yes, sir. David just shook his head. Couldn't speak. Sophia was getting an IV now. The paramedic had found a vein in her left arm, taped it secure, hung the saline bag. She winced, but didn't complain. Ethan? Her voice was small. Yeah? What you said to Uncle Derek, about the Hells Angels never stopping, about them hunting him. Was that true? Ethan glanced at Marcus. Marcus's face was unreadable. Yes, Ethan said. That was true. Good. Sophia's expression was fierce. 8 years old, but her eyes held something much older. He deserves it. He deserves everything bad that happens to him. Sophia, Marcus started. No, Daddy. He was gonna kill me. He said so. He said he'd make me hurt first. I heard him tell you on the phone. He's not my uncle anymore. He's just a bad man who needs to go to prison forever. Marcus's jaw clenched. He is going to prison. For a very long time. The helicopter banked toward the hospital. Ethan could see it now, white building with a red cross on the roof, landing pad with ground crew waiting. Agent Chen's voice came through the pilot's headset. Medical Bird, be advised we have Derek Brennan in custody. Repeat, suspect in custody. Hells Angels team located him attempting to cross Deep Creek 1 mile from the cliff. Injured, unable to flee. In FBI custody now. The pilot relayed the message. Marcus closed his eyes. Relief and rage fought across his face. Relief won. Barely. "It's over," he said to Sophia. "He's caught. You're safe. It's over." Sophia started crying again. Different tears. The kind that come when you've been holding everything together and finally, you don't have to anymore. They landed at 7:43 a.m. Hospital staff swarmed the helicopter. Gurneys, equipment, doctors shouting medical terminology. They tried to separate Sophia and Ethan to different examination rooms. Marcus said one word. No. The head ER doctor, a woman in her 50s with Martinez on her name tag, looked at the two kids holding hands, looked at Marcus and David standing like guards, and made a decision. "Exam room 3. It's our largest. We'll evaluate both patients together." They wheeled the gurneys side by side down the corridor. Nurses took vitals. Sophia's blood pressure was 80/50, too low. Heart rate 110, too high. Temperature 96.2, mild hypothermia. Dehydration, severe. Eaton's numbers were similar. Blood pressure 78/48. Heart rate 120. Temperature 95.8. Dehydration severe. Plus stage 2 exhaustion and possible shock. Dr. Martinez ordered IV fluids for both. Warm blankets, continuous monitoring. How long were they exposed? 53 hours, David said. In wilderness conditions, limited food and water. And they were mobile that entire time? Running, hiding, tracking. Yes. Dr. Martinez shook her head. They should be in much worse condition. The fact that they're conscious and coherent is remarkable. They're tough kids, Marcus said. His hand hadn't left Sophia's shoulder since they'd arrived. A nurse came in with warm blankets from the warmer, tucked them around both kids. Sophia's shivering started to slow. Ethan's too. Try to rest, Dr. Martinez said. We're going to run some tests, make sure there's no internal injuries or complications. But right now, rest is the best medicine. Sophia's eyes were already closing. The warmth, the safety, the IV fluids. Her body was finally allowing itself to shut down. Ethan tried to stay awake. His eyes kept closing, opening, closing again. Sleep, son, David said. I'm right here. You're safe. But Derek is in FBI custody. You heard the radio. He's caught. It's over. Sophia is fine. Her dad's with her. You did your job. You kept your promise. Now sleep. Ethan wanted to argue, granted to stay alert in case something else went wrong. But his body had other ideas. The moment his eyes closed this time, they didn't open again. He slept for 14 hours straight. No dreams, no nightmares, just deep, black, healing sleep. When he woke, it was dark outside. The hospital room was dim, just a small lamp in the corner. Sophia was in the bed next to his, also sleeping, breathing deep and even. Marcus sat in a chair between their beds, head back, asleep, sitting up. David was awake, though, sitting in a chair next to Ethan's bed, reading something on his phone. Dad? David's head snapped up. Hey, you're awake. How do you feel? Ethan assessed. His whole body ached. His throat was raw. His hands were covered in bandages. He didn't remember getting bandages, but he felt alive, functional. "Okay. Thirsty." David handed him a water cup with a straw. "Sip slowly. Doctor's orders." Ethan sipped. The water tasted like the best thing he'd ever consumed. "What time is it?" 9:47 p.m., Sunday night. You've been asleep since 8 this morning. Derek? Federal Detention Center. He's been charged with kidnapping, child endangerment, attempted murder, assault, extortion, and about 6 other felonies. Bail denied. He's not going anywhere. Ethan nodded, then, "Did I really do it? Did we really?" "You saved her life." David's voice was thick. "The FBI said if you hadn't stayed, if you hadn't kept her hydrated and fed, hadn't protected her when Derek moved locations, she probably wouldn't have survived until the search teams found the cabin. You gave her 40 extra hours of life. You gave her father those hours to find her." "I just did what—" "Don't say you just did what anyone would do, because that's not true. Most people would have run. Most trained adults would have run. You stayed. That's exceptional." Marcus stirred in his chair, opened his eyes, saw Ethan awake. "Kid." His voice was rough from sleep. "You up?" "Yes, sir." Marcus stood, walked to Ethan's bedside. "We need to talk, you and me." Ethan's stomach tightened. "Okay." "You saved my daughter's life. I can never repay that. Never. But I'm gonna try." Marcus pulled something from his jacket pocket, unfolded it. A vest, miniature Hell's Angels cut, kid-sized, with the winged Death's Head logo on the back and a patch on the front that said, "Honorary Member." "This doesn't make you a Hell's Angel. You're 13. You've got your own path. But it means something. It means every brother in every chapter from here to New York knows your name and knows what you did. It means if you ever need help, ever, for any reason, anywhere in the country, you call us and we come. It means you're protected. Forever." He held out the vest. Ethan stared at it. "I can't." "Yes, you can. You earned it. You bled for my daughter. You gave up sleep and food and safety for her. In our world, that's family. You're family now." Ethan looked at his father. David nodded. "Take it, son." Ethan took the vest with shaking hands. It was real leather, worn soft, carefully made. The patches were hand-stitched. Someone had spent hours making this. "Thank you," Ethan whispered. "No." Marcus's voice was steel. "Thank you. For everything." Sophia woke 20 minutes later. Her eyes opened slowly, confused for 3 seconds about where she was. Then clarity hit and she sat up fast. Too fast. The IV line pulled tight. "Easy, baby." Marcus was there immediately, hand on her shoulder. "You're in the hospital. You're safe." Sophia's breathing slowed. She looked around, saw Ethan in the next bed holding the vest, and something in her face softened. "You're still here." "Still here," Ethan said. "You didn't leave." "Told you I wouldn't." She smiled. First real smile Ethan had seen from her. It transformed her whole face, made her look like a regular 8-year-old instead of someone who'd just survived 3 days of hell. Dr. Martinez came in for evening rounds, checked both their vitals. Sophia's numbers were improving, blood pressure up to 90/60, heart rate down to 85. Ethan's were better too. The IV fluids were working. "You're both remarkably resilient," Dr. Martinez said. "We'll keep you overnight for observation, run a few more tests in the morning, but I think you'll both be cleared for discharge by tomorrow afternoon." "Can we stay in the same room?" Sophia asked. Her hand had found Ethan's across the gap between beds, holding tight. Dr. Martinez looked at their joined hands, at Marcus and David's faces, and nodded. I don't see why not. You've been through this together. Makes sense to recover together. After she left, a nurse brought dinner. Hospital food, nothing special. But to Ethan, it tasted like the finest meal ever created. Chicken, mashed potatoes, green beans, roll, apple juice. He ate everything. Sophia ate about half her tray before exhaustion won, and she pushed it away. Not hungry? Marcus asked. My stomach feels weird, like it forgot how to eat real food. That's normal after what you've been through. Try a little more, just a few bites. Sophia managed 3 more bites of potatoes before shaking her head. Can't. Marcus didn't push, just moved the tray aside and pulled her close. At 10:30, visiting hours officially ended. A nurse came to enforce the rules, took one look at Marcus and David's faces, and quietly left without saying anything. David pulled his chair closer to Ethan's bed. Your mother's flying in tomorrow morning. She wanted to come tonight, but I told her you were sleeping. You were safe. She should get proper rest and come fresh. She's gonna kill me for scaring her. Oh, absolutely. But first, she's gonna hug you for about 3 hours straight. David paused. Your scoutmaster called, Gerald. He wants to know if you're still planning to complete your Eagle Board of Review next month. Ethan blinked. I didn't finish the survival test. I didn't document all 48 hours. I didn't. Ethan, David's voice was gentle. You survived 53 hours in wilderness conditions while tracking a kidnapper and keeping a hostage alive. You demonstrated fire building, water purification, navigation, signaling, first aid, and crisis decision-making under extreme pressure. I think you passed. But the journal, I was supposed to document everything and I only wrote 3 entries. We found your journal in your pack. We read them. David pulled out his phone, opened a photo. Eaton's journal page, his handwriting. Witnessed kidnapping. Girl, approximately 8 years old. Victim is Sophia Brennan. Suspect is Derek Brennan, victim's uncle. Tracking location. Staying with victim. If found, tell Dad. I did the math. This is the right choice. The Board of Review meets in 3 weeks, David said quietly. They've already voted unanimously to advance you to Eagle Scout. They said what you did goes beyond any merit badge requirement. You didn't just survive. You saved a life. Ethan's throat closed up. I haven't done my service project yet. That's a requirement. I have to. Already done. Marcus's voice cut in. I talked to your scoutmaster this afternoon. My racing team is funding a wilderness safety program for kids. You're going to help design it, teach the first classes. That's your project. 100 hours minimum. All approved. But I didn't. Kid. Marcus leaned forward. Stop arguing. Accept the help. You earned it 10 times over. Sophia squeezed Ethan's hand. He's right. You saved my life. Let people say thank you. Ethan nodded. Couldn't speak. Just nodded. At 11, the nurse came back with sleeping medication for both kids. Doctor's orders. You need real rest, not just exhaustion sleep. Sophia took hers without complaint. Ethan hesitated. What if something happens? What if Derek... Derek's in a cell with armed guards, Agent Chen's voice said from the doorway. She'd appeared silently, still in tactical gear. I'm heading home, but wanted to check on you both first. Derek Brennan isn't going anywhere. Ever. The evidence we have, your testimony, Sophia's testimony, the physical evidence at both locations, the ransom texts. He's looking at 40 years minimum. Probably more when they investigate his background deeper. What do you mean, investigate deeper? Marcus's voice went hard. Chen glanced at Sophia, clearly debating how much to say in front of her. Marcus caught it. Sophia, baby, can you close your eyes for a minute? I'm 8, not stupid. I know Uncle Derek's bad. You can say whatever. Chen nodded slowly, We found evidence in Derek's apartment. Life insurance policies. One on Sophia, taken out 3 weeks ago. $500,000 payout. Beneficiary listed as Derek Brennan. The room went silent. Marcus's face drained of color, then flushed dark red. He was planning to kill her and collect. Marcus's voice was barely audible, deadly quiet. We believe so. We also found an older policy on his ex-wife, Rebecca. She died in 2011. The death certificate said pneumonia complications. The insurance paid out $200,000 to Derek 2 months after he'd taken out the policy. He killed her too. We're reopening that investigation. If we can prove it, he's looking at consecutive sentences. He'll die in prison. Sophia's hand tightened on Ethan's so hard it hurt. He was gonna kill me and take money from my dying? That's evil, Ethan said quietly. That's just evil. Yes, Chen's voice was firm, but he failed. Because you two fought back. Because you refused to give up. Because Ethan kept his promise and Sophia stayed strong. Evil doesn't always win. Sometimes good people win. She left after that. Marcus sat back down, pulled Sophia close again. She was shaking.
Daddy, I called him Uncle Derek. I trusted him.
When he picked me up from school, I got in his car because he was family. I didn't think... You couldn't have known, baby. He fooled all of us, even me. I thought he was getting better, thought he'd cleaned up his life. I was wrong. I'm never trusting anyone again. No. Marcus's voice was firm. You don't let him take that from you. You trust carefully. You trust smart. But you still trust. Because look, he gestured at Ethan. You trusted this kid you'd never met when he whispered through the floorboards. That trust saved your life. Sophia looked at Ethan. You could have been lying. Could have been working with Uncle Derek. I didn't know you. But you trusted me anyway, Ethan said. Because you gave me water and food. And you looked scared too. Bad guys don't look scared. Bad guys are always scared, Marcus said. That's why they do bad things. Fear makes people cruel. Courage makes people kind. He touched the Hell's Angels vest still folded on Ethan's lap. This kid's got more courage than most adults I know. That's why he's family now. The sleeping medication started working. Sophia's eyes drooped. Ethan? Yeah? Tomorrow, when they let us go home, will you come visit? I don't want to forget you. I'll visit. Promise. You keep your promises. Always. She fell asleep holding his hand. Marcus gently untangled their fingers, tucked her arm under the blanket. Then he looked at Ethan. I mean it. About visiting. About being family. Sophia's gonna need friends who understand what she went through. You're the only other person who was there. Who knows? I'll be there, Ethan said. The medication was pulling him down too. Won't leave her. Promised. Good kid. Marcus's voice was the last thing Ethan heard before sleep took him. Monday morning came with sunshine through the hospital windows, and Ethan's mother bursting through the door at 7:15, technically before visiting hours, but nobody stopped her. Jennifer Cole was 5'3", 120 pounds, ER nurse with 20 years experience and the ability to make grown men cry with a single look. She took one look at her son, bandaged, bruised, hooked to an IV, and burst into tears. Mom, I'm okay. She hugged him so hard his ribs creaked. Don't you ever scare me like that again. When your father called and said you were missing, her voice broke. I thought I couldn't. I'm sorry,
I had to stay. She needed... I know. I know what she needed. I know what you did.
Jennifer pulled back, wiped her eyes.
And I'm so angry at you for risking your life, and so proud of you I can't stand it, and so grateful you're alive that I want to ground you and give you a medal at the same time.
David laughed from his chair.
That's exactly how I feel. Jennifer turned to Sophia's bed. Sophia was awake, watching this reunion with wide eyes. You must be Sophia.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm Ethan's mother, and I want you to know something. Jennifer's voice was fierce. My son doesn't give his word lightly. When he promises something, he means it. So when he promised to keep you safe, that was a blood oath as far as he was concerned. You understand? Sophia nodded. Good. Because you're part of our family now, too. That's what happens when someone saves your life. You're stuck with us. Sophia smiled.
I'm okay with that.
Dr. Martinez came in at 8 for final evaluations, checked vitals, examined wounds, ran blood tests. Both kids' numbers were nearly normal. Dehydration resolved, no signs of infection. Psychological trauma present but manageable with proper counseling. I'm clearing you both for discharge, she said, with conditions. Sophia, you need to follow up with a pediatrician this week. Eden, same. You both need to see trauma counselors. What you experienced, physically and psychologically, requires professional support. We'll make sure they get it, Marcus said. Also, no strenuous activity for at least a week. Your bodies went through extreme stress. They need recovery time. Does Eagle Scout Board of Review count as strenuous? Ethan asked. Only if they make you do wilderness survival during it, Dr. Martinez said with a slight smile. I think you've proven yourself there. They were discharged at 10:30. The hospital tried to require wheelchairs to the exit. Both kids refused. They walked out on their own feet, slowly but steadily. The parking lot was packed. News vans, cameras, reporters shouting questions. Hospital security had created a barrier, but the press was relentless. Ethan, how does it feel to be a hero? Sophia, were you scared? Marcus! Are you pressing charges against your brother? Agent Chen appeared from nowhere with 4 other FBI agents, creating a human wall. No comments at this time. Please respect these families' privacy. They made it to Marcus's truck, a massive F-350 with Brennan Racing logos on the doors. David's Ranger truck was parked next to it. They'd coordinated this, Ethan realized, making sure both families left together. Before they split up, Sophia grabbed Ethan's hand. You promise you'll visit? This week. Wednesday, maybe. If that's okay with your dad. Wednesday's perfect, Marcus said. Come for dinner, 6 o'clock. Ethan looked at his parents. They nodded. I'll be there. Sophia hugged him, quick, fierce, then pulled back and climbed into her dad's truck. The drive home took 40 minutes. Ethan sat in the back seat, watching familiar roads pass, trying to process that 3 days ago he'd been preparing for a simple camping trip, and now he was wearing a Hell's Angels vest and being called a hero on national news. Dad? Yeah, son? Am I really getting my eagle? 3 weeks from yesterday. Board of Review at the Scout Hall. Your whole troop's gonna be there. Probably some other people, too. What other people? David and Jennifer exchanged glances. Jennifer spoke. The mayor wants to give you a commendation. The governor's office called. There's talk of a Carnegie Hero Medal. Ethan's stomach flipped. I don't want medals. I just want... He stopped. Wasn't sure how to finish that sentence. You just want what? Jennifer asked gently. I want Sophia to be okay. I want her to not have nightmares. I want her to be a regular kid again. That's going to take time, Jennifer said. Trauma doesn't heal overnight, but she's got a good support system. Her dad, her mom. Divorced from Marcus, but very much in Sophia's life. She was in Oregon when Derek took Sophia, flew back immediately. You'll meet her Wednesday, probably. They pulled into the driveway of Ethan's house. Small ranch style, 3 bedrooms, well-maintained yard. Home. Safe. Normal. Ethan climbed out of the truck and felt his knees buckle. Exhaustion hit him like a wall. David caught him. Whoa! Inside. Bed. Now.
I slept for 14 hours.
Your body needs more. Come on. They got him inside, into his room. Ethan collapsed on his bed, fully clothed. His mother pulled a blanket over him. Sleep as long as you need. We're right here. He was asleep in 30 seconds. He slept until Tuesday evening, 29 hours straight. When he finally woke, it was dark outside, and his whole body ached with the deep pain of muscles that had been pushed beyond their limits and were now protesting. He made it to the bathroom, looked in the mirror, and didn't recognize himself. His face was scratched, bruised. His eyes looked older. His hair was a disaster. But he was alive. Sophia was alive. Derek was in prison. They'd won. Downstairs, his parents were in the kitchen. The smell of real food, his mom's lasagna, filled the house. "Look who's awake," David said. "Hungry?" "Starving." They ate together, normal family dinner. His parents asked questions carefully, not pushing, just checking in. How did he feel? Any nightmares? Did he want to talk about it? "Not yet," Ethan said. "Maybe later. Right now I just want normal. Just for a few hours." They gave him normal. They talked about his younger brother Jack's soccer game, about David's work schedule, about a funny thing that happened at the hospital where Jennifer worked. Regular life. Safe conversations. At 8:30, Ethan's phone rang. Number he didn't recognize. He answered anyway. "Ethan? It's Sophia." "Hey, how are you?" "Okay, better. My mom's here, and Daddy, and like 7 of his biker friends are outside the house taking turns on watch, which is weird, but also makes me feel safe." Ethan smiled. "They're protecting you." "I know. Daddy said they'll do shifts for the next month until the trial stuff is over, and Uncle Derek's definitely locked up forever." She paused. "I had a nightmare. About being tied to that chair. About Uncle Derek coming back." "I'm sorry." "My therapist, I saw one today. She's nice. She said nightmares are normal, that my brain is processing trauma. But I wanted to hear your voice, to remember that it ended okay, that you kept your promise." "Always will." "I know. Wednesday still good for dinner?" "Definitely." "Okay, good. I'm gonna go now, but Ethan?" "Yeah?" "Thank you for everything." "You already thanked me." "I'm gonna thank you every day for the rest of my life. Get used to it." She hung up. Ethan stared at his phone, feeling something warm in his chest. Purpose, maybe. Or just the knowledge that he'd done something that mattered. Wednesday came fast. Ethan's mother insisted on driving him to Marcus's house, even though he could have driven himself. "I want to meet Sophia's mother, and I want to make sure you're really okay." Marcus lived 20 minutes away in a nice neighborhood. 2-story house, big garage converted to a motorcycle workshop, American flag on the porch. 3 Harleys were parked in the driveway, 2 more on the street. They knocked. Marcus answered immediately. Come in. Sophia's been watching the window for 20 minutes. Sophia appeared from the living room, wearing jeans and a purple t-shirt, hair in a ponytail. She looked normal, healthy, young. The rope burns on her wrists were mostly healed, just faint marks now. She ran to Ethan and hugged him. "You came. Promised I would. A woman came from the kitchen. Mid-30s, dark hair like Sophia's, kind eyes. I'm Rachel, Sophia's mom. Thank you seems completely inadequate for what you did. But thank you. You're welcome, Ethan managed. Dinner was loud. 7 bikers were there, Tank and 6 others, plus Marcus, Rachel, Sophia, Ethan, and his parents. They'd pushed 2 tables together to fit everyone. The bikers told stories, mostly funny ones, carefully avoiding anything scary or violent. Sophia laughed at their jokes. Ethan saw her visibly relax as the evening went on. After dinner, Sophia pulled Ethan aside. Want to see my room? They went upstairs. Her room was exactly what an 8-year-old girl's room should be. Purple walls, stuffed animals, posters of horses and pop stars. Normal. I've been drawing, she said, pulled out a sketchbook. The first page showed the forest, the cabin, but with bright colors, hopeful colors. My therapist said art helps process stuff. She flipped pages. Each drawing showed a different moment. The helicopter arriving, Ethan and Sophia running, the bikers surrounding the clearing, all rendered in a child's hand but with clear emotion. The last page showed 2 stick figures holding hands, one bigger, one smaller. Above them, in careful block letters, promises kept. That's us, Sophia said. That's you keeping your promise. Ethan's throat tightened. Can I take a picture of that? To remember? You can have it. She carefully tore the page out, handed it to him. So you never forget what you did for me. I could never forget. They went back downstairs. The evening wound down. Goodbyes were said, hugs exchanged. Marcus walked Ethan to the door. 3 weeks, Marcus said. Your eagle ceremony. We're all coming. Every brother who helped search. We want to be there when they make it official. You don't have to. We want to. Your family. Driving home, Ethan's mother kept glancing at him. That went well. Yeah. Sophia seems strong. She is. Stronger than she knows. Like someone else I know. Ethan looked at the drawing in his lap. 2 stick figures. A promise kept. And he smiled. 3 weeks passed faster than Ethan expected. He went back to school on Monday and became an instant celebrity, which he hated. Kids he'd never spoken to wanted to sit with him at lunch. Teachers looked at him differently. The principal called him to the office just to shake his hand. I don't want this attention, Ethan told his father Thursday night. I just want to be normal again. Give it time. A month from now, something else will happen and people will move on. But David was wrong, because on Friday, the story went national. A documentary crew had contacted the FBI, gotten permission to interview Agent Chen, Marcus, and Sophia. They wanted to interview Ethan, too. He'd said no 3 times before his mother sat him down. Ethan, I know you don't want attention, but Sophia wants to do this interview. She wants to tell her story, and she wants you there with her. Are you really going to say no to that? He couldn't. Of course he couldn't. The interview happened the following Monday at a neutral location, the community center where Troop 47 held meetings. The interviewer was a woman named Patricia Morrison, late 40s, kind eyes, reputation for respectful journalism. She started with Sophia. Can you tell me about the moment you realized you were in danger? Sophia sat between her parents, holding her mother's hand. When Uncle Derek tied me to the chair. Before that, I thought maybe he was taking me somewhere for Daddy, like a surprise. But then he tied me up and said... Her voice wavered. He said I wasn't going home. That's when I knew. What went through your mind? That I was going to die. That I'd never see my parents again. That nobody would find me. Sophia looked at Ethan, sitting 3 chairs away. But then I heard Ethan's voice through the floorboards, and I wasn't alone anymore. Patricia turned to Ethan. What made you decide to stay instead of running for help? Ethan had answered this question a dozen times now. The answer never changed. The math didn't work. Running meant leaving her alone for hours, maybe days. Staying meant I could keep her alive, mark a trail, signal for help. Staying was the equation that worked. You were 13 years old. Most adults wouldn't have made that choice. Most adults wouldn't have fit under that cabin floor, Ethan said. It got a small laugh. He wasn't trying to be funny, just honest. Patricia interviewed Marcus next. When did you realize your brother had taken Sophia? Marcus's jaw tightened. When I got his text message. He sent a video of her tied to a chair, demanded money, said if I called police, she'd die. He looked directly at the camera. I called police anyway, because my daughter's life was worth more than following a kidnapper's rules. You also called the Hells Angels. Every chapter I could reach. Nundy 8 brothers responded within 6 hours. They searched every trail, every abandoned structure, every corner of those woods. They found Derek when he tried to run, held him until FBI arrived. Legal, controlled, by the book. There's a perception that motorcycle clubs operate outside the law. Some do. We don't. We're veterans, fathers, businessmen who happen to ride motorcycles, and when one of ours is in danger, we protect them. That's not illegal. That's family. The documentary aired 3 weeks later on a major streaming platform. It was titled The Promise Keeper: How a Boy Scout Saved a Life. Within 48 hours, it had 10 million views. Ethan's phone exploded. Interview requests from national news shows, podcasts, magazines. He declined everything except one, a 5-minute segment on morning television, and only because Sophia asked him to do it with her. They sat on a couch together, professional lights making everything too bright. The host, a cheerful woman named Amanda Chase, asked gentle questions. Sophia, how are you doing now? Better. I still have nightmares sometimes, but I talk to my therapist twice a week, and Ethan comes over for dinner every Wednesday. That helps a lot. Ethan, you've become a symbol of courage for a lot of young people. How does that feel? Weird, Ethan said honestly. I didn't do anything special. I saw someone who needed help, and I helped. That's what anyone should do. But most people don't. That's what makes it special. Ethan didn't have an answer for that. The segment ended with Amanda saying, sometimes heroes wear capes. Sometimes they wear scout uniforms. Sometimes they're 13 years old and brave enough to keep promises when it costs them everything. Ethan's Eagle Scout Board of Review was scheduled for Saturday, June 3rd at 2 in the afternoon. He'd been told to expect maybe 30 people, his troop, some family, a few community members. He arrived at the Scout Hall at 1:45 and found the parking lot completely full. More than 100 motorcycles lined the street. News vans were parked across the road. People were everywhere. Dad, what's happening? David smiled. Your Eagle ceremony is happening. Come on. They walked inside. The main hall had been transformed. Chairs set up in rows, at least 200 of them, almost all filled. In the front row, Sophia and her parents. Beside them, Tank and 6 other Hells Angels wearing their full cuts. Behind them, Agent Chen and 4 other FBI agents in dress uniforms. Behind them, the mayor, 2 city council members, Ethan's entire school, and what looked like half the town. Ethan stopped walking. I can't. This is too many people. You tracked a kidnapper through the wilderness for 3 days, his mother whispered. You can handle a ceremony. The Board of Review panel sat at a table in front. His scoutmaster Gerald, 2 assistant scoutmasters, and a district representative. Gerald stood as Ethan approached. Ethan Christopher Cole, you have completed all requirements for the rank of Eagle Scout. Your service project, designing and implementing a wilderness safety program, has already impacted 300 children across 4 counties. Your demonstration of scout skills went far beyond any merit badge requirement. You embodied every point of the scout law. Gerald paused, looked at the crowd. Normally, at this point, I would ask if anyone wishes to speak on the candidate's behalf. But we'd be here all day if I did that. So I'm going to ask just 3 people to come forward. Sophia stood first. She walked to the front, took the microphone Gerald offered, and looked at Ethan. I'm 8 years old. I was 8 when Uncle Derek took me. I thought I was going to die. But Ethan stayed with me. He gave me his food and water. He talked to me when I was scared. He promised he wouldn't leave me, and he kept that promise even when it was dangerous, even when he was hungry and cold and tired. He saved my life. Her voice cracked. Because of Ethan, I got to see my 9th birthday last month. I got to hug my parents again. I got to be alive. So when people ask me what a hero looks like, I show them a picture of a 13-year-old Boy Scout who kept his word. She handed the microphone to Marcus. I'm a professional motorcycle racer, Marcus said. I've crashed at 180 miles per hour. I've broken 23 bones. I thought I knew what fear was. He looked at Ethan, but nothing compared to the fear of thinking I'd lost my daughter forever. And then this kid, this skinny 13-year-old, gave her back to me. He didn't just save her life. He saved mine. Because without Sophia, I don't exist. So, Ethan, you don't just have my gratitude, you have my eternal debt. Anything you ever need, anywhere, anytime, you call. We come. That's the promise I'm making you today. He handed the microphone to Tank. I'm Victor Romero, president of the Hells Angels Northern California chapter. We gave Ethan an honorary membership because what he did embodied everything our brotherhood stands for: protection, loyalty, courage under fire. But I want to say something else. Tank looked around the room. We searched for 3 days. 98 experienced riders, many of us military veterans, all of us familiar with these woods, and we didn't find Sophia. This kid did. This 13-year-old with a compass and a merit badge manual did what 98 grown men couldn't. That's not luck. That's skill. That's training. That's character. And every brother in every chapter across this country knows Ethan Cole's name now, knows what he did. And we're better for knowing him. Gerald took the microphone back. Normally, I'd have questions for the candidate, but I think Ethan's already answered everything we could possibly ask. He opened a wooden case, removed the Eagle Scout medal, bronze eagle with spread wings, red, white, and blue ribbon. Ethan Cole, it is my profound honor to award you the rank of Eagle Scout. The room erupted. Standing ovation, 200 people on their feet clapping. Sophia was crying. Marcus was crying. Ethan's mother was crying. Even Tank looked suspiciously misty-eyed. Gerald pinned the medal to Ethan's uniform. Then he did something unusual. He saluted. A full, formal salute. Not just an Eagle Scout, Gerald said quietly. A hero. After the ceremony, there was cake and punch. Ethan was swarmed by well-wishers. Handshakes, hugs, congratulations. The mayor gave him a key to the city. The governor's representative presented a certificate of commendation. Agent Chen told him the FBI director had personally called to thank him. Through it all, Sophia stayed close. When the crowd got too overwhelming, she grabbed his hand and pulled him outside to the back patio where it was quieter. Too many people? She asked. Way too many. They sat on a bench together. The sun was setting, painting the sky orange and purple. Inside, the party continued without them. "My therapist asked me something yesterday," Sophia said.
She asked if I was angry at Uncle Derek. Are you? I was. I am. But also, she struggled for words. Also, I'm grateful. Not for what he did, never for that. But for what happened because of what he did. I met you. I learned I'm stronger than I thought. I learned my daddy would move mountains for me. I learned that strangers become family when they fight for each other. She looked at him. Does that make sense? Yeah, it makes sense. Do you have nightmares? She asked suddenly.
Etta nodded. Sometimes. About finding you too late. About Derek catching me. About failing. But you didn't fail. I know. My brain knows. But sometimes at 3 a.m., my brain forgets. Sophia squeezed his hand. When you have nightmares, call me. I'm usually awake anyway. We can remind each other we survived. Deal. They sat in comfortable silence until Marcus came looking for them. There you two are. People want pictures. More pictures, Ethan groaned.
It's your eagle ceremony. Humor your mother.
They went back inside, posed for pictures with family, with the bikers, with Agent Chen, with the mayor. Ethan smiled until his face hurt. At 6 o'clock, the party finally ended. People started leaving. The bikers were last, forming up in the parking lot for a group photo. 98 Harleys, 98 riders, and in the center, one 13-year-old Eagle Scout in full uniform, wearing an honorary Hell's Angels vest.
Tank handed Ethan a frame before they left.
Inside was a patch, same Death's Head logo, but underneath it said, Promise Keeper in bold letters. That's your road name now, Tank said. Official. When brothers meet you, they'll know exactly who you are and what you did. Thank you, Ethan managed. No, kid. Thank you. They roared off into the sunset, engines thundering, a river of chrome and leather flowing down Main Street. Derek Brennan's trial began 6 weeks later.
Federal courthouse, maximum security.
The prosecution had overwhelming evidence. Sophia's testimony, Ethan's testimony, the physical evidence, the ransom texts, the insurance policies. Ethan had to testify. He sat in the witness box wearing a button-down shirt and khakis, trying not to look at Derek sitting at the defense table in an orange jumpsuit and shackles. The prosecutor, a sharp woman named Catherine Ross, walked him through the timeline. Finding the crash, following Derek,
Staying with Sophia.
the escape. And during those 53 hours, did you ever consider running for help instead of staying? Yes, ma'am, multiple times. But you stayed. Why? Because Sophia needed someone, and I'd promised her she wouldn't be alone. No further questions. Derek's lawyer, a public defender who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else, tried to shake Ethan's testimony, suggested he'd exaggerated details, implied he'd put Sophia in more danger by staying instead of getting help faster. Isn't it true, the lawyer said, that if you'd run immediately, rescue teams could have reached Sophia hours earlier? No, sir. No. By the time I'd reached help, 90 minutes minimum, and they'd organized a search, 2 to 3 hours minimum. And they'd searched that much wilderness, 6 to 12 hours minimum. Sophia would have been alone with her kidnapper for at least 10 hours.
During that time, anything could have happened. By staying, I gave her food, water, hope, and ensured that when rescue came, I could lead them directly to her location. The lawyer had no response to that. Sophia testified next. She was calm, clear, devastating. Described everything Derek had said, everything he'd done, everything he'd planned. The jury watched her with expressions ranging from sympathy to fury.
Derek's defense was that he'd never intended to actually hurt Sophia, that it was just a ransom scheme gone wrong, that he'd panicked after the motorcycle crash. The insurance policies destroyed that argument. The reopened investigation into his ex-wife's death destroyed it further. Forensic evidence suggested Rebecca hadn't died from pneumonia. She'd been smothered. The jury deliberated for 3 hours, came back with guilty verdicts on all counts. Sentencing came 2 weeks later. The judge was a man in his 60s who'd presided over violent crime cases for 20 years and had seen everything. "Derek Michael Brennan," the judge said. "You exploited family trust to kidnap your 8-year-old niece. You planned to murder her regardless of ransom payment. You intended to profit from her death through insurance fraud. Evidence suggests you've done this before, murdering your wife in 2011. This court finds you to be a dangerous predator without conscience or remorse." Derek sat stone-faced. "Federal charges: 40 years for kidnapping, 20 years for extortion, 15 years for child endangerment, all to run consecutively. State charges: 25 years for attempted murder, 15 years for assault. Total, 115 years. You will not be eligible for parole until you've served a minimum of 75 years, at which point you will be 119 years old." The judge banged his gavel. "May you spend every single day of your imprisonment thinking about the 8-year-old child you tried to destroy, and the 13-year-old boy who ensured your failure." Derek was led away. He looked at Marcus once, tried to say something. Marcus just stared back with ice-cold eyes until Derek looked away. Outside the courthouse, Sophia hugged Ethan. "It's really over. He can't hurt anyone ever again." "Never," Ethan agreed. 6 months later, on a cold November afternoon, Ethan and Sophia hiked into Redwood National Forest together. With them, Marcus, David, Rachel, Tank, and a film crew documenting their journey. They hiked to the ridge where Ethan had built his final signal fire. The spot was peaceful now, just forest and sky and the distant sound of a creek. "This is where it ended," Ethan said to the camera. "Where the helicopter finally saw us. Where help arrived." Sophia knelt, pulled a small metal plaque from her backpack. She'd had it made specially. It read, "In this place, May 2023, courage kept a promise. Lives were saved. Evil was defeated. EC and SB." They mounted it to a large boulder using epoxy. It would stay there forever, marking the spot. "Why did you want to do this?" the interviewer asked Sophia. "Because I don't want people to forget," she said. "Not the bad parts, I'd love to forget those. But the good parts, that ordinary people can do extraordinary things. That promises matter. That staying with someone when you could leave. That's love. That's heroism. That's what changes the world." "Ethan, what do you want people to learn from your story?" He thought about it. That courage isn't the absence of fear. It's keeping promises when you're terrified. It's doing the right thing even when it costs you everything. It's refusing to let someone face darkness alone. He looked at Sophia, and that sometimes the scariest situations become the most meaningful relationships. "Sophia's my best friend now. That wouldn't have happened without—" He gestured at the forest. "Without all of this. Do you ever regret staying instead of running?" "Never. Not once. Because I kept my promise, and she's alive. That's all that matters." They hiked back as sunset painted the sky gold and red. At the trailhead, the Hells Angels were waiting. 30 bikes this time, not 98, but enough to make their presence known. Tank handed Ethan a new patch. This one said, "Chapter Protector," underneath the Promise Keeper designation. "What's this mean?" "Means you're not just honorary anymore. You're active. When we need someone who understands protection, who gets what we're about, we call you. Youth outreach programs, safety initiatives, mentorship. You help us do better, be better.
Ethan looked at his father. David nodded. I already cleared it. As long as school and scouts come first.
I'm in, Ethan said. Sophia grabbed his arm. Does this mean I'm a biker kid now?
You're the daughter of a road captain, Marcus said. You've always been a biker kid.
Cool. Can I get a motorcycle when I'm 16?
Absolutely not.
Worth a shot.
They drove home in convoy, bikers in front and behind, families in the middle. Protected. Safe. Together.
That night, Ethan sat at his desk doing homework when his phone buzzed. Text from Sophia.
Nightmare, you awake?
He called immediately. I'm here.
Same dream, being tied to the chair. But this time you don't come. This time I'm alone. But I did come, and you weren't alone. You're never going to be alone again. You've got your parents, the angels, me. You've got an army, Sophia. I know. My brain knows. But my 3 a.m. brain is stupid.
Everyone's 3 a.m. brain is stupid.
Want to talk until you can sleep?
Yeah. Tell me about your day. Regular boring stuff. Please.
So Ethan told her about his algebra test, about his little brother's soccer practice, about his mother burning dinner and ordering pizza instead. Regular, boring life. Normal. Safe. He talked until her breathing deepened, until he heard the soft sound of sleep. Good night, Sophia, he whispered. Sweet dreams. I'm still here. Always will be. He ended the call and looked at the Eagle Scout medal on his wall. Next to it, the Hells Angels vest. Next to that, Sophia's drawing. 2 stick figures holding hands. Promises kept, written above. Sometimes heroes wear capes. Sometimes they wear scout uniforms. Sometimes they're 13 years old and scared out of their minds, but refuse to leave someone behind. Sometimes courage is just keeping your word when breaking it would be easier. Sometimes heroism is whispering through floorboards. I won't leave you. Sometimes changing the world starts with staying when everyone else would run. Ethan Cole was 13 when he made a promise. 14 now, Eagle Scout, honorary Hells Angel, best friends to a girl who knew what it meant to be saved. He'd been scared, exhausted, hungry, cold, alone. But he'd stayed. He'd kept his promise, and that promise had saved a life, stopped a killer, and proven that ordinary kids could do extraordinary things when courage mattered more than comfort. The story spread. The documentary reached 50 million views. Schools across the country started teaching Ethan's decision-making process. Scout troops added Promise Keeper awards. The Hells Angels expanded their youth protection programs to 18 chapters. But for Ethan, none of that mattered as much as Wednesday dinners with Sophia's family, as much as 3 a.m. phone calls when nightmares hit, as much as knowing that when he'd faced an impossible choice, he'd chosen right. He'd promised a scared 8-year-old girl he wouldn't leave her, and he never did. Not in that forest, not in the hospital, not in the 6 months since. Not ever. Because Ethan Cole keeps his promises. And promises. The kind kept when keeping them costs everything. Those promises change the world.